We got 2 more that are coming up, and our 5th one of the day is Casie taking on Jarla in this one. And for Casie, he needs to bounce back in a big way because things did not go his way yesterday.
Nope.
As he took on Bunny Hopper. In fact, I would say it went quite the opposite of his way. Not that it just veered off the path, but that, you know, it kind of slipped down the side of the mountain and then crashed at the side afterwards. For Casie, he's looking to turn this around in a big way, and Jarla kicking off his season very differently than Season 1 as well, where it seems like just Season 2's like opposite day of everything that was happening in Season 1 so far.
Yeah, well, both these players were actually kind of middle of the pack in Season 1. Casie was 6 and 8, Jarla 7 and 7. So both of them just kind of mid-table performances and probably weren't being threatened too hard with relegation that would come in if it were this season. Of course, you know, very little to play for when you got out of playoff contention in Season 1, but this time everything changes. So if a player is to get off to a poor start and look to be staring down a negative win rate toward the latter weeks, they are going to have that grim specter of relegation looming over their shoulder the whole time.
God, that was just beautiful language on how to explain that. I never would have come up with that.
This place is scary.
The grim specter of relegation. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be that for Halloween now.
The difference the difference between you and me, Admirable, is that I speak English and you speak American.
I'm just going to have a big 06 on my chest. What are you? The grim specter of relegation. Oh, that's my record! That's what I'll add on to it, too. Your record.
You just shuffle around. You have to go again. Go again.
Jumping into a Warrior Mirror match. Both of these players very much have had their experience on Warrior, but we have very different matchups that are in front of us. Casie is playing the pure formed Control Warrior, where Jarla has brought my favorite build of Bomb Warrior this week. It is lean and mean. 1 copy of Shield Block, 1 copy of Spellbreaker, 1 copy of Brawl. 1 copy of Acolyte for a little bit of card draw, and then everything else is 2 of or Legendary.
Yeah, but as I was discussing with Ball Control last night, perhaps too lean and mean for this particular matchup, because when you say he's really cut away a lot of the fat, some of that fat is Omega Assembly. Some of that fat is that he's not including the Tomb Wardens and the Omega Dillo that some other decks are, which means you do have the capability to just run out of stuff. But Jarla does not really seem to ever have any of that problem because he just seems to draw the bomb curve into the 7 drops.
This place is scary.
Casie, by the way, not too much time to talk during his turns the majority of the time. It's a very similar contrast to what we had last time. Casie, one of the fastest players in the game. Jarla, one of the slowest players in the game. Very similar to what we saw before, where Casie was up against Bunny Hopper with the exact same dynamic.
Yeah, I believe at one point Casie actually began to take a nap and hit his hero power in the napping state.
Yes.
I want to talk about the armor here from Casie as well. I think that's an important measure that stacks up over the course of this game. You add a second Frightened Flunky to this board, you're opening yourself to Warpath and to Dynomatic perhaps having bigger impact. You hold that Frightened Flunky instead, you get the option to pick something different later. You get to start stacking up little bits of armor at a time. I think that his ultimate goal is to outlast the pressure that Jarla can bring against him and to make sure that tempo doesn't slip away in the meantime. So I like the measure. Casie, time and time again, despite his quick play, typically demonstrates a very deep understanding of the matchups.
Yep. Yeah, I tell this story a lot, but the first time I really got exposed to Casie, he was playing in a playoffs and he kept appearing on camera because he's doing very, very well. Ended up qualifying through those playoffs to the championships. And a lot of the casters were saying to him, just because it was kind of a default thing at the time, it was kind of peak Life Coach era, right? Life Coach was winning everything. He was playing super slow. So it just kind of became the accepted thing that everyone should slow down and think more about their turns. Casie turns up, he's just playing explosively quickly. Everyone's saying, oh, why does he play so quick? Like, just take some time. Think about your turns. You're going to make some better plays. I'm just kind of sat there casting. So, well, can you tell me one thing that he did wrong while playing that quickly? And if not, shut up. You know, like let him do his thing.
My takeaway from that is playstyle exists.
Yep. Play how you feel comfortable. You can. There's merit in forcing yourself out of your comfort zone if you think that will give you, tangible returns. If not, don't modify your playstyle. Playstyle is something that if you have to think about what you're doing, if you have to say to yourself, I should slow down here, that's already mental energy that you're not expending to just processing information about the game and making the right decision. Just do what comes naturally.
Heroic Innkeeper. Battlecry gain +2/+2 for each other minion you control.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever actually seen that hit play. Both players of Mad Genius. Jarla hanging on to Blastmaster Boom already, though. Oh, Boom into Heroic Innkeeper. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's immediately, as soon as you said that, I was like, well.
Blast Shield, a welcome sight for Casie, as his #1 mode of gameplay right now is extra life.
Yes.
I'm so
Both players suiting up.
Jarla sad to see that Discover a Mech flip over, because that's what he wants to do.
He'll take Zap, though, in a pinch.
Woo!
Ain't being played this turn.
Look at that Warpath. That is beautiful if you're Casie.
Yep. Rover, Warpath. Perfect remainder just to hit that Blast Shield. Just gained 11 that turn while clearing his opponent's board.
We've seen our share of Spellbreakers on Eternium Rovers. I do not think this is one of those spots. Jarla is a long way away from reaching Casey's life total.
Which means he might just be in trouble, because if you start to simplify that equation down to its simplest form, if he's a long way from the health total in terms of just pushing damage and blowing up bombs, that means he needs to stick minions and get repetitive damage. If he has to stick minions and get repetitive damage, he needs to play more stats than Casey's removal is able to take care of. And to do that, you are unfortunately staring down Dr. Boom Mad Genius, which means they have infinite removal to take care of your minions.
All right, so let's start looking at this a little bit deeper then. How does Jarla most secure that? If you put too much commitment to board, you're playing into Brawl. So I think step #1 is finding a way for these two Wardens to connect. This is one of the weaknesses I think that Warrior has right now, is that our Megadillo is not a mech. And in these situations, it's vulnerable.
Unplayable.
Push through.
Not a mech. Are you kidding me? Whew, what a weakness.
Well, Dynomatic is a really terrible card in this matchup usually. Suddenly, it seems like a pretty good card.
I'd like to focus more on why Tomb Warden is a mech. I feel like that's a much bigger talking point.
I mean, that's a 6 damage connection. That nullifies the Blast Shield.
Yep. But it's a Blast Shield that Casie has found twice in 3 turns. Each Snip Snap in Dr. Boom mode represents 4 points of completely flexible removal, being able to be allocated wherever you would like. I say alligated. Alligated wherever you'd like. Yeah, you can crocodile that damage wherever you want.
Like, alligated's a word. It just sounds like you said alligator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Three 1/1s, Heroic Innkeeper. I have a lot more respect for that card now.
Yeah?
That's a cute little combo.
Yeah. If you have both booms in hand, it's probably going to be good at some point, right? Like whether it's off Blastmaster Boom or whether it's off the Microbots Hero Power from Mad Genius.
That is actually cool.
Yeah. Pretty sweet. 14-14. Casey's face.
I mean, that's a problem.
Yeah?
He doesn't have Brawl in hand.
No. He does have a Dynomatic, which right now is 8 directly to that thing. That's still not good enough.
With the laser it is.
Yeah, okay. 3 left remaining on the board.
The fact that it just dies. How?
This is what I'm saying. When you play a 14-14, you feel like unless your opponent has a card that says kill a 14-14, it should be allowed to stay alive. It just doesn't.
Okay then. Light the fuses.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
No tomb can hold me.
Oh, sure. You can just overkill it if you want. Yeah, that's fine. Totally reasonable.
That's a more efficient kill. You get to trade now the 3-4 over the...
Over the 3-3. I mean...
Failure is an
What?
option.
You get to mix in this as well.
Okay, assembly last. Yeah, I was wondering what Casie was like throwing up the failure as an option emote for.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. You're going to Dynomatic that turn.
Yeah.
Even if you drew a Devastator, I'm pretty sure you still Dynomatic that turn.
Yeah.
Dynomatic bad, Devastator good.
Yep.
Very simple equation.
Yes.
Somebody order a bomb.
All right, bomb's going in, and Jarla has actually done a pretty good job in terms of whittling away this massive health pool that Casie had amassed in the early game.
Now, for me, I want to trade this 3-3, and I want to laser face.
I've seen this situation many a time while casting with you, and you have always suggested that, and it does tend to make sense.
Turn your cards into damage. You're turning them into board presence, which you're trying to turn into damage.
Yeah.
Which that could be something to said for Jarla's deck list. You know, the fact that it's so lean, I don't have a ton of experience on a deck list quite as lean as this one. So having the 3-3 in play to contest spots just like this one does feel like it's an important measure. So I am kind of curious to see how that adds up towards the end. Full Monty. And that's where you want to see him go.
Okay. Crucial that a second Boombot didn't go face, just in terms of shield slam options for Casie. He does have the shield blocks available that he's been holding on to with those shield slams in mind, I'm sure. Does give him a lot of freedom now in terms of how he wants to allocate mana to use that shield slam.
Yeah.
Shield slam first, use the hero power to finish off, doesn't have to allocate anything else to gaining additional armor.
Took me a bit of time to learn this trick, but oftentimes when you're playing Control Warrior with Archivist Elysiana, casting the shields blocks post Archivist Elysiana is one of the best ways to defend yourself against Bomb Warriors, because you have 0% chance to draw a bomb if they can't shuffle in post Elysiana. And so a lot of times you have to cast them because your hand isn't good enough and you need to find gas, which is the case here, I think, for Casie. His hand is just looking a little bit weak overall. But secondarily, I have found that holding those for post-Elysiana has given me just enough padding to be able to sustain through some Bomb Warrior shenanigans.
Not sure about that line at the end there from Casie. I was wondering whether the Llama Bot might have come down before blowing up the bombs to try and soak some more damage if the Llama Bot lives. Sweet, your Llama Bot lives. If it doesn't, it soaks up some more damage. And your opportunity cost for losing that is that you don't get to play a shield block this turn. Feels like the Llama Bot can get some more done.
Yeah, with the number of Boombots that are going off, I think I would have liked that as well. You know, the risk is that you don't get a second copy of your Tomb Warden, or that your Ziliax gets pulled from hand, or your, you know, the big payoff, obviously, if it lived, would be the Bulldozer.
Right.
I think I'd be
This
willing to
would
chuck
be
it
a
into
good
a bunch of
time for
Boombots, though.
master plan.
I think worst comes to worst, you could realistically think about expending a Warpath.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Jarla, laser that base. You're going to need that damage.
Okay then.
Yeah!
There it is. There it is.
I want you to think about all the games you quick shot minions, and I want you to think about all the games that you quick shot face and tell me which ones you want more. A lot of blast shields picked up in this game.
Yeah. Is that 4 now from Casie? It's 28 extra casually. No big deal.
For Jarla, these Town Criers did not show up in prime time.
You can kind of see the problem with just keeping going over a long game that Jarla does have with this Bomb Warrior deck, because He had an Acolyte Dynamatic play, drawing the full value off of the Acolyte, and he's still just, it's not as if his hand is just packed full of gas right now.
I mean, he drew two Town Crier and Eternium Rover, and you know, in the
But,
space
I mean,
of 4 cards,
that's what's in his deck. He's not drawing 2 Mordens and a Mega Assemblies because they're just not in the deck.
Yeah. Pretty much all he wants to draw is more bomb stuff.
Yeah.
And Omega Devastators. That's about it.
No tomb can hold me. No tomb can hold me.
What a board.
Casie looks like he's going to respect us to the fullest amount.
Mega Devastator, yeah.
Get tempo. Look what your opponent just did.
Yep.
They're reaching.
Full clear, 4-4 in play.
Another Blast Shield.
He's just hitting one every other turn.
I don't even know if you can afford to play the Clockwork here.
You want to save?
Casie hasn't used a board wipe.
Right.
Like that Snip Stab needs to connect to face somehow.
Yeah.
You have payoff of Augmented Elix sometimes. You might have just gotten beat. There's too many Blast Shields. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think he's getting through this one.
It's going to be tough to get through that amount of armor gain for Casie. I think what we're saying 28 at least, possibly 35 that has been gained from the Blast Shields. He's at 35. And like, it's not that simple because if those hero powers weren't Blast Shields, they were other things that can have different impacts on the game that might mean that you take less damage. But, you know, as a general guideline,
to gain 28.
They've been pretty useful.
Yeah. So at this point, Jarla is just having a compromise. He says, how can I connect these? It's like, maybe some of it I get to connect. He is allowed to connect for 3 damage.
But I mean, that is pretty much the way to phrase it. The way you said it just then, it kind of feels like Casie is just allowing a few points of damage to go through because he is more than comfortable in his spot.
Wonder what he'd be fearing at this point. I mean, I'm spying this Bulldozer, and I'm seeing a pretty direct path to victory.
Bulldozer is like the most admirable card I can think of.
It's the true sleeper of that set. It's dozing off.
9 mana, big Divine Shield thing.
Wait a minute. Jarla's not supposed to draw bombs.
As the Alec finally, much too late at this point.
Still a copy of Wrench Caliber in the deck. You know, I'm thinking if you're going to win this game in Jarla's spot, you got to take the absolute Hail Marys.
Yeah. Interested that this Devastator did come down from Casie because that was his essentially full heal available in hand. The Devastator and the Ziliax in combination. It loses that opportunity. Let's have Delivery Drone back up again though.
Well, I was thinking,
and an Eternium Rover as well.
I was thinking this particular turn could have brought...
And a Vicious Scrap Hound.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know.
I'm sorry, Lord Casie. I don't know why I questioned you. 47.
I mean, Jarla's at 53, but this is Casie with Elysiana versus Jarla with not Elysiana. The higher the life totals go, the worse it is for Jarla.
Okay, then.
Might be getting somewhere close to quitting time. Jarla is a competitor, as evidenced by that giant, shiny trophy just to the right of him, so he's going to fight it out until the very last.
Job done.
Ding, ding.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just one ding. That's where the 2 dings come in.
No tomb can hold me.
Never really realized that. I was thinking Mechathune or bust on this discovery.
Oh, and here we are again. Back reaching for the Mechathune now.
That's literally the only way that Jarla wins this game in this spot. Like, that had to be Mechathune.
All right. Whoa. Whoa.
I'm not reaching
Calm
for
down.
it. I'm telling the truth.
Calm down. Whoa.
I'm telling the truth. Just because you can't handle the truth.
I didn't say, when I said, here we are again reaching for the Mechathune now, I was talking about Jarla's desperation for a way out of the game.
Oh, so now you're speaking American.
It wasn't a slight on your commentary.
This story deserves a new
Oh, the commentary on my idea.
Oh.
Yeah, because you always hate when I bring that up.
Yeah, I do. It's really dumb.
It's the only way he wins. Casie just discovered a Zilliax from the Archivist Elysiana, right?
Yeah, he did.
No tomb can hold me.
Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Thank you, though.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Jarla is just getting beat up. You got to keep going, though, because I was serious. That Mechathune is the only way he wins this game.
Yep.
So Casie now, I think, should focus on beginning to close.
Yep. From this point on, it's just biggest thing, go face. That's basically his turn every turn.
I'm almost out of cards.
All right. It's a pretty useful card to have left in the bottom 2. He needs that Mechathune, though. He does find Delivery Drone. Heavy metal, vicious scrap. What is that for a discover when you're just trying to stay alive as desperately as possible? Eternium Rover, vicious. Ah!
That's good for Casie this time, though, because Jarla doesn't have any cards left. That counters the Mechathune out.
It does, yeah. That actually 100% in the game. Name a more iconic duo. Casie and her car.
Your magic shall not
Jarla silences it. This is awesome.
Oh.
All right, so he can't flip Delivery Drone next turn, which means you got to tank this car.
You're facing down Zap, which already just completely forces you off board as it stands. Yeah, well. There's the Zilliax.
So Jarla's next turn, he kills the thing, and he hopes to flip Delivery Drone. If he doesn't flip Delivery Drone, that probably does it. And that probably does it. He probably has one more turn because of the Brawl and Warpath in hand. You do need to get these out.
I mean, we can get really boring and banal about it, but technically probably not, because you need to factor in how Casie can survive multiple Mechathune turns right now. You have to factor in the fact that he just drew a Clockwork Goblin, but you also, like, Casie can actually just survive multiple turns of Mechathune being on the board, especially since, like, Jarla will have to trade his Mechathune unless Casie gives him some way to activate his Brawl, which he won't because he'll know that Brawl is one of the cards left when that situation comes up. So if you want to dig really deep down into it, the Mechathune probably was never going to work either, which is kind of the point I always come back to when this comes up. But I get it, it's exciting, it's a thing to cling on to. Bottom line, Jarla was dead a long time ago.
Yeah. That's how Board Control envisioned the matchup going.
Yeah, pretty much. And you can see why, right? You see it's a little bit toothless when it just comes down to the final punch. I don't think Casie really had to do anything spectacular that game in terms of dealing with it. He got his Dr. Boom Mad Genius, Jarla did as well. He had both booms on curve available. And that was just kind of enough, you know, as long as he didn't take repetitive minion damage to the face, it always felt like he was comfortable in that. Yes, he got 13 blast shields or however many it was over the course of the game. Yeah, it was like 5 or 6, which, you know, helped no end. But again, you need to make the point that if they weren't blast shields, they were different things. They were delivery drones that could have discovered Vicious Scrap Hounds or Eternium Rovers or Ziliaxes that can get you out of it. They're zaps that take care of the board state so minions don't push damage face. All of the hero powers are defensive in one way or the other. It's just Blast Shield is the most transparently and obviously defensive one.
Yeah, the TLDR for me is that Bomb Warrior needs to get underneath the defense and deal some damage.
Yep.
If you're not able to do that, it is very tough to win on the back of this Warrior deck here for Jarla. So that's game number 1 in the books, a 1-0 favor over to Casie right now, and we got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to be jumping into the second game of this series where Casie's Warrior is no longer eligible for play because we're playing Conquest here. So we're going to find out if Jarla can tie things up. Stay tuned.
My name is Sam Braithwaite, and I'm the Senior Global Franchise Lead for Hearthstone Esports. This event was especially cool because it takes place right after the brand new expansion, Rise of Shadows. Historically in Hearthstone Esports, we do our big events like this towards the end of an expansion cycle, but we really wanted to shake things up and really showcase that not only is the world champion the person who can pilot the best decks, but also the person who, when presented with a brand new game, can put together the best decks leading into the World Championship. Cheers to you guys, the sold-out crowd here for the HCT 2019 World Championship.
Welcome back to 2019 HCT World Championship.
We've had a lot of fun games, and we're looking forward to the grand finals. Showdown. Viper versus Hunter Ace. Only one can be the champion. Oh, come on!
Oh, match be dead.
Wacko pick a Vince coming out from Hunter Ace.
It's now or never. Archvillain reform.
Okay! In a completely solved game, Hunter Ace finds a way to maximize his chances. It's been a wonderful journey throughout the past few years of the Hearthstone Championship Tour, where stars were made and dreams came true.
My name is Christos Sakopoulos. My username comes from when I was a kid. I used to go to like an internet cafe with my friends to play like, I remember WoW and stuff like that. And I just had to make a character one day, and one of my friends said, your plays are phenomenal, so you can just put the name Phenomenal there. And I just did it, and then it just stuck. The thing that's unique about my playstyle, I feel, is that I sometimes think about stupid plays that other people would never even consider, and I try to get something out of it. I think people don't pay attention to details like trading or going face. I really pay attention to those things because I think it's super important. Like even one bad trade can cost you the game a lot of times. My favorite memory was definitely when I won my first Hearthstone tournament last year in HCT Orange County. And doing that just gave me so much more confidence and made me feel like I was free again. I'd say being in Grandmasters means that I've made it to the top players of Europe, which has always been my goal. So yeah, I'm looking forward to start competing again.
Welcome back to the Hearthstone Grandmasters for the European region. That's Admirable, and I'm joined by Soddle, and we are amidst our 5th matchup today. But we got a bonus match here for you, as we have 6 for the European region on Sunday. If you're looking to stay up to date with the rest of the schedule in Americas and in Asia Pacific, you can always visit playhearthstone.com/esports. Right now, Casey's up a game in a relatively, just kind of middle of the day, grind your way through Control Warrior game where Jarla just did not have reach at all.
Yeah, Casie was kind of chilling that game. You could kind of see it got to the point of the game where he just started to look very composed on camera, very comfortable in his seat, very much like that over on the left. Yep, get a little head shake, had a little jam to the tunes. That was pretty much the mood he was in throughout that entire first game.
And so you can see that little Divine Shield thing over the class that's down there. That's during the protection phase of the bans and lineup situation. That class is not eligible to be banned away, is the Conquest format that we are playing right now. And so for Jarla, still all of his decks available. For Casie, the Warrior is not eligible for play. And Jarla's got to win 2 straight if he's going to put up a 2-0 match record here. And Casie, meanwhile, trying to stave off the 0-2 off the back of that first game win. And he's queuing up Mage, and we're getting into it. Jarla's going to be on Priest. And that hand from Casie did not look substantial.
Nope. Jarla full mulligan, including an extra arms to look for a 1-drop minion. He ended up finding a 1-drop minion and getting the other copy of the extra arms back as well again. So he got the best of both worlds there.
The one thing to think about would be a Doomsayer and how that impacts you.
Yep.
The other thing to think about is Ray of Frost. And if you don't extra arms.
Job's done.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, this sucks. It's kind of what happens sometimes when you fill half your deck with really expensive, clunky things that you're hoping to discount with Luna's Pocket Galaxy. Sometimes you draw those cards.
Yeah, it's definitely exacerbated by the fact that I'm staring down at the Light Warden.
Speak to me. Job's done.
Acolyte of Pain joins the party. Doomsayer no longer effective. And that was the look of Casie from yesterday. The slump back, what do I do? Guess nothing, go. He just doesn't even ping.
Just refusing to ping his opponent as well. Yeah, like, Jarla can always heal him to buff up the Light Warden, so you don't prevent a Light Warden buff from doing that. But technically, it's 1 health net that way. You give up 1 damage to your opponent to gain 2 life on yourself if your opponent wants to buff the Light Warden, so it does make sense.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it's like you're pinging face and then they heal themselves. That damage has been negated anyway, so it's even more than that in practice.
I feel like a big part of this Priest deck is just maximizing your chance to find a way to kill your opponent. Just like in a random spot. You're like, oh, I drew that card. Okay, you lose.
So like
Scam Priest.
Until you said like, just in a random spot, I was like, that's a really like generic description of just Hearthstone. You're just finding a way to try and kill your opponent. Like, yep, yeah, you sure are, Admirable. Well done. You nailed that one.
It's just Priest decks, though. Like, the Priest decks always feel like they're scamming their way through the game.
Another soul ultimate soup.
Jarla, 1 copy of Zero Mana Silence and 1 copy of Master Spell in his deck. That is one of the most hotly contested points in the deck. How many Master Spells and how many copies of Silence are being played?
What are you in favor of?
I like 2 Silence, 0 Master Spell now. I was a Master Spell gamer for quite some time, but a lot of that was when people still thought that Quest Druid was a deck. And so you had potentially like multiple taunts coming down in the late game that you had to be able to plow through, with Scenarios or whatnot coming down late game. But now it's just, it seems more effective just to have the cheap option.
You better watch yourself. Talking bad about Druid that way.
Yeah, well.
I'm just saying.
Quest Druid sucks, prove me wrong. I'm just actively trying to annoy our producer now. I'll keep going until I get some.
Yeah, you got 2 people against you right now, too.
Yeah.
You're fighting an uphill battle. Subtle knows I love Druid. It's my favorite class.
The good news is that Casie is currently still alive. From this point on, he does actually have some ways to interact with the board in terms of at least preventing them from attacking. And it doesn't matter how many Divine Spirits and Inner Fires you have, it doesn't matter how big your Light Warden is if it can't attack.
Yeah.
The problem is, those options run out in a couple of turns from now. So unless there is Tortolan Pilgrim off the top so he can... Yeah, well actually this is kind of clever. He uses the Frostbolt as a temporary freeze this turn, which allows him to stretch out the Frost Nova and the Blizzard for a couple of extra turns. Brings Doomsayer into the equation for longer as well, and then if he finds Tortolan Pilgrim, he can then go for that potential big outer of a Flame Strike or whatever it is. Unfortunate that he does have the puzzle box in his hand, which takes that out of the equation for the Pilgrim.
Yeah, the Master Spell getting drawn is going to shut off the Doomsayer out as well, but that's definitely where Casey's head was at. It was odds to draw Doomsayer and land Frost Nova Doomsayer. That was why he opted for the temporary freeze on the Frostbolt, leading into the Blizzard turn. You know, of course, he paired it with the Arcane Intellect last turn as well. So he gave himself a good 4 draws to find a Doomsayer in this spot. Also, with Doomsayer, you have to account for Topsy-Turvy being able to shut it off as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's a card that came in more recently as well to the deck. Just 1 copy of Topsy-Turvy. It's essentially, you know, a 3rd copy of Inner Fire if that Inner Fire is going to be lethal, but also has extra utility in terms of just making some fancy trades happen or dealing with Doomsayer, as you say, which is something that the deck can struggle to do.
Yep. Jarla now looks like he's setting up to have Inner Fire be lethal every single time.
Yep.
So he's thinking about Acolyte of Pain getting hit by a Blizzard. He's thinking about just being able to funnel spells through this later on. Casie does not have an option. Let's continue to freeze and hope for the best.
Feel like keeping the health up on this Acolyte is the #1 port of call right now. I mean, Light Warden too, but...
You got a hero power for that.
Yep.
Life is an afterthought.
There it is. Just make sure that Acolyte keeps on drawing, so if there is any magical way that this this board does go away, because for all Jarla knows, there's Coin Pilgrim into Puzzle Box coming out next turn. So if he can keep that Acolyte healthy and find some draws off it, then that will help him with the refill afterward.
All right, so Casie needs to find a way to buy himself 1 more turn after this one.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
I'm not sure that it is.
Zephyrus?
Zephyrus into...
Conjurer's Calling also. You could conjure the...
yeah, I guess Zephyrus Blizzard is what he would be on. Because it certainly would offer the Blizzard here if he just rips it off the top.
Conjurer's Calling also wipes out the Light Warden.
Yeah. But Jarla's done well to, for example, just take Reno the Relicologist just completely out of the equation. It's another reason why that Divine Spirit came down, is just to make sure that there's just way too much health overloaded on the board for that to be a factor.
Siamat and Volpera Scoundrel. Those are the last ones I'm seeing. Oh, Ray of Frost. That hasn't been cast yet.
Is that good enough, though?
Stops 19.
Yeah. I am aware. But is it good enough?
I think it is. I've loosely done the math, but you're going to be fearing inner fire and Casie spot either way. It just do what you can.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, there's no more freezes left in terms of the natural freezes, so I think he's comfortable using that and saying, yeah, what's a Doomsayer going to do? Voodoo Doll, is that enough? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's only 12 damage on Jarla's side.
It's a topsy-turvy in hand, though, but I think, as you say, Casie just really can't be in the business of trying to beat inner fire and topsy-turvy here.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing he's able to.
Casey's perspective is that he may have bought himself one more turn.
Nope.
It's not the case.
Just do the 28. You always do the 28.
Now you have to do 20, right?
No.
Maybe not. Dang it. 1-1. Casie with a hand that flounders around for quite a bit, looking for a turn to cast Puzzle Box, but Jarla just able to run away with that one. A very aggressive mulligan, finds extra arms and never gets contested. With that, though, I want to point this out as a talking point for Puzzle Box and Yogg-Saron. That's a card that absolutely, if Casie had an opportunity to get to 10 mana, could win him the game. Like, outright win him the game in that spot.
Yep.
And I think if you're not playing Puzzle Box in your deck, you're doing it wrong. Sometimes you just buy time and you buy time and you buy time and you leave it up to the cards at that point. Now, it's not going to win you the game very often. About 20% of the time, it's going to have this major impact when you're far behind. The other 80% of the time, it does nothing. But it's a card that says 20% of the time, when you cannot win the game, perhaps now you can.
Yeah, very little to add. Just hard agree with everything you just said. I'm very much in the same camp. Even though I don't like the card, I don't like the effect that it necessarily has on the game. I think it's just too far out there in terms of random effects for sort of healthy competitive environment. I do think if you're interested in just winning and your job is to win and use all the tools at your advantage to win the most often, then the card should be in your deck.
Yeah. So far, two fairly extremely one-sided games that have taken place so far. This has been unusual. I think this is like the first time this has actually happened where it's like almost zero chance.
Just blowouts back and forth,
yeah.
1-1, yeah.
And I do also want to agree with your point on the Puzzle Box thing too. Like if your goal is strictly to win as many games as you can, like Puzzle Box has a place in certain deck lists. But I also agree it's like so wacky. It's like okay, I guess. I mean, like, but if that's the mechanics you're given to work with, like, so be it.
Yep.
Players always find an edge. I don't know how they keep doing it either. Like, it feels like that card is just so weird. But it makes sense. I mean, I remember the Yogg-Saron days, and I was like, this card's a joke. No one's ever going to play with this. It's so weird. And then it was like the first time a good Yogg happened against you, you were like,
yep. I actually, when original Yogg was first revealed, I tweeted that like this was really, really great design because it was something that the casuals could mess around with and just do crazy stuff, and it would be awesome for them, but it would never have an impact on like the high-level competitive game. That's about the dumbest prediction I have ever tweeted.
It aged pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Eventually, that was the case.
Yeah.
Almost.
When it rotated.
Well, so eventually it got changed to where if it killed itself, the effect would stop right there. The Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron cannot stop itself.
Nope. Always 10.
Yeah, that's about the most interesting thing that there is to talk about with this matchup so far. It has been blowout on both sides. Like, not even close. It's been, it's just kind of something to behold. Like, the decks, Mage is regarded as like one of the most powerful decks in the game right now. It just did nothing for 8 turns.
Yeah, I mean, it does still have weaknesses, which, it's perhaps the most powerful deck in the game because it has an overwhelming amount of strengths compared to those weaknesses. But those weaknesses can be exploited, and that's why Hearthstone is a game of matchups. It's why most competitive esports are a game of matchups. It's why nothing can never really be truly dominant because there's always the ability to build a strategy around just beating that one thing. And with Reno Mage, the number one thing you can do is just be aggressive early on and prey on that inconsistency that the deck has. Like a deck that plays 2 Frostbolts kills that Light Warden a lot of the time and is then not in that position that Casie found himself in.
Zephrys is kind of like a Frostbolt.
Yeah, it's kind of like a backstab too.
Yeah, kind of like an SI7 agent.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the Zephyrus and the Frostbolt have joined the party. Frostbolt A and Frostbolt B, where I will, from here on out in this game, refer to them as.
I know what you did.
And Jarla has gone with the Highlander Hunter here, so Highlander Hunter versus Reno Mage. And Jarla's deck definitely has some choices in here that interest me. Has again gone with the No Hunters pack, has favored the Unleash the Hounds as utility. And Leroy Jenkins added to the deck for some extra reach. I mean, it kind of makes some sense with Dino Tamer Brand. Just deal more.
Yep. Charge plus charge. It's about as simple a combo as it gets, but it works.
I wonder.
This is one of those spots where you're looking at Zephyrus and it will offer backstab position.
You just look at it, just please don't screw me.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Please don't screw me.
Frostbolt B.
Yeah, Frostbolt, yeah, you look at Frostbolt B in this situation, just like, please, just don't scam me out. I know you give me backstab, but please, just make sure it comes.
Like, are you sure? Brightwing's pretty good.
No one, not a soul. Zephyrus, would you like a Brightwing?
I'm thinking Bowler Fist Ogre's pretty good here. Much different story in this game.
I wonder.
Ooh, Jarla's hand. I mean, I don't know what to do with this exactly. Like, part of my instinct says that I want to hold the coin.
Yeah.
Part of my instinct says that I need this 2/3 to become a minion that's actually in play.
Yeah.
And both of those options right now, if he goes that route,
Got something to
do
hide.
not check out. So if he goes with Eagle, if he waits for the Eaglehorn bow, let's get blown up by the ooze.
I'm gonna win big.
If you wait on the Sun Reaver, you just keep taking more damage. If Casie had a minion to add back behind the Zephyrus, it means that Eaglehorn bow isn't fully clearing the board. Like, so many bad things can happen if you don't play that that 3/4. I'm sorry, the 2/3.
A Scoundrel off the top for Casie was just the perfect draw just to keep this hand functioning smoothly. Picks up Arcane Intellect from it. Otherwise, he was looking at just kind of an inefficient Frostbolt. Take care of business. Eaglehorn Bow, no concern about oozing it right now. Just going to get the AI cast. Picks up Luna now, which can smooth in with that ooze on the following turn.
Jarla needs to find something here. Finds nothing. That needed to be a minion, I think.
Yep. And this time you're just seeing the kind of inbuilt inconsistency of a Highlander deck from the other side. This time it's Jarla suffering for it. Just nothing really resembling any kind of curve.
He's got some stuff to toy with, but it's just that ooze into the Luna is so powerful.
Yep.
Is ours.
It's not even because of the effect on the Luna, it's just because it's just minions in play.
Stats. Yep.
There's nothing Jarla can do with his hand right now. Like,
Yeah, it's just a simple matter of the deck that's supposed to be ahead being significantly behind because of the quality of Casey's start in comparison. You got to give a shout out to Zephyrus.
it's pretty great.
He knew the deal. It's one of those things where you'd never really understood it until the first time you started playing with Zephyrus, because I'm sure, like, when we saw the reveal stream, we were all thinking about, you know, the fancy twisting nethers and flame strikes and the pulling lethal, just ripping a fireball or a soulfire or whatever else for lethal. But when you consider just the ability to just drop it on 2 and get a backstab and kill a minion and just have the board, like, that's so insane.
I mean, rogues just put backstab in their deck to be able to do that alongside just janky-looking minions.
Yes. It's coin SI7 going first, 4-2.
In case he just throws in his hands, he's like, whatever, attack. All right, nothing.
I
Okay,
don't
good.
know, I'm not going to think about it.
This turn took about half a second. I don't know, I'm just playing Hearthstone. Yeah, the problem for Jarla on this coin is that you know, you take the tempo now with Siamon, you pay for it later on the on the Zul'jin.
The Zul'jin, yeah.
I mean, your opponent just pinged with the Luna in play. Like, I feel like the world is trying to grant you either a tremendous opportunity or a very large trap. Which door do you take?
I mean, I'm not even sure which it is looking at Casey's hand. Because it does, like, coining the Tiamat here, it does look juicy, it does get something going for Jarla in a nutshell, but it also just activates a card in Casey's hand, which is kind of dead right now. He can just Voodoo Doll ping in response, and that's just perfectly reasonable play for Casie. I think Jarla's done well to get himself off that play, honestly. I think having the coin is more important right now.
You require my
Biggest minion, go face, your turn.
Yeah, that one might not have worked out so well. Antonidas is gone now. He could have taken the card off Reno the Relicologist and gotten rid of the Ursatron. Would have left him with a 4-2 in play. Now suddenly Jarla, this is a pretty big tempo swing. Still activates stuff for Casie, but you know, Casie was very much interested in using power creation this turn. And I think that might have been where Jarla's head was settled, was, well, what's the worst thing that can happen to me on turn 8, given what's been going on this game? It's probably power of creation.
Right.
Try to disrupt that turn.
Yeah, I'll Total Pilgrim into something.
He always finds a way to make something like this happen. I just see it time and time again. It feels like he always has a plan to try and disrupt powerful turns from opponents that aren't very apparently powerful if you were sitting in Jarla's seat and couldn't see the opposing hand.
Yeah, I still think Casey's pretty comfortable against this outcome, though. Still has Reno Relicologist in hand, still has the Voodoo Doll, still has Frostbolt. Can take care of this board state in a variety of ways. And I think that's what the Antonidas play is about. Like, even if Scythe is the play, even if it comes down, even if he loses Antonidas, he's still being the one that's presenting questions to the opponent. It's still Jarla that's having to go, oh god, now I have to kill this as well. And that's just not the spot Jarla wants to be in. He wants to be playing obnoxious minions that Casie has to find answers for. So as long as Casie can just keep playing minions here, I think he'll continue to do so.
Oh,
That's a big deal.
the thing about it is, does this need to land on a trade? Like, you've been losing the board so far.
Yep. I mean, the answer, based on the hand that we can see, is yes. Whether that's what Jarla comes to is a completely different matter.
The two factors that I would consider would be, A, the Voodoo Doll, which we see in Casey's hand, but also there's a Polymorph in Casey's deck list. Polymorph, another one of those kinds of cards that can be sat on the left side.
Yep. Multiple turns from Casie in the early game would just ping past, which means there's either reactive cards or incredibly expensive cards in his hand somewhere.
Either way, the trade, I think, looks best against both of those.
The trade would look better against a handful of, like, 9 and 10 drops?
I think perhaps, yeah, because if Casey's going to drop a big play right here, I think you do need to have some interest in taking care of it.
I'm sorry. It's just Casie philosophy. You saw, like, the shrug there, like, you roped that? Like, you had Dino Tamer Fran, and there's a rope on the screen?
Yeah, that would make me kind of terrified of the opposing hand.
Yeah.
And so now for Jarla, there is some minor interest in the Zul'jin, but the Zul'jin wants to be timed with when Casie plays another big thing.
Because there's a deadly shot inside it?
There's a deadly shot inside. And so that's the next big thing to think about. That means probably triple Snip Snap. Or Hyena Alpha Snip Snap. That brings the coin into play now. So that's saving that coin. You see the payoff of it potentially on this turn.
Yeah, double Snip Snap available because of that coin hold. I was wondering whether we might ever just see Jarla start stretching out resources with the hero power at any point either.
It's an interesting point.
It's a really big call to make when your opponent's still at 28, but you know, it's kind of a myth to say that 2 damage is more important when your opponent's lower than its when then they're at 30 or 28. Like 2 damage is 2 damage. It adds up to you killing them just the same. I think here, third snip snap probably just makes the most sense.
Moves quickly.
Yeah, I agree with this.
The fate of the world hangs in the balance.
Well, there's that big minion from Casie you were talking about. Unfortunately, there are going to be several big minions from Casie this turn. Sure. Take the big one. Can't guarantee the deadly shot.
No, but you can get 18 damage in here if you wanted.
Yeah, come back to the hero powers. How important are they?
Well, the Snip Snap's made up for the hero power at this point.
Yep.
Had to play the rest of his tools as he did, I think, to fend off an offensive. I think Jarla's got a shot in this one.
Shine a light on the fact real quick. There's a Caligos and 2 Renos on the board and a Barista in Casey's hand.
Yeah. 18's a lot of damage.
I mean, that wasn't being proposed as a counter to your point that Jarla might have a choice. That might have a chance even. I'm just saying. That's kind of sweet. Trades. Big trades. Lots of trades, Admirable.
No, I don't think that's the angle that wins this one. Casey's hand's going to have to be awfully bad if that's the angle. You know, you're thinking about Alex Strauzer, you're thinking about Ziliax as well. Like, the chance to win is already going to be slim to none. And, you know, admittedly, Jarla's line looks way better in this outcome. But that Zul'jin is not nearly packed enough to make this impact. And so that's part of Jarla's thinking as well. You know, if Casie plays a card-tut defender that he just has in hand, if he uses Alex Strauza on himself and clears my board.
Yep.
What to do?
Alex Strauza offensively, I didn't even think about that one. That would be 12 damage. Oh, yeah. Perhaps you need to play against the represented lethal outcomes on Casey's side as well. You know, there's a lot of things that are going on in that turn. It's a lot more complicated than just the damage aspect. And with the line Jarla's taken, if he... I was going to say, if he drew all the perfect spells in a row here, maybe he has a chance for that Zul'jin to fight back. Does get to play 3 secrets this turn. Oh, sorry, you have to have 3 secrets.
You lied.
That is something I will say I like about some of these decks too, is trimming the secrets out. It's 5 secrets in the deck for Jarla. It's already had to go through 3 of them.
Yeah, I've wondered about it, looking at a lot of the Highlander lists and how to build them, because the secrets, there being so much redundancy and like a lot of your curves just needing a secret, right? Like you just go a secret into Masked Contender, a secret into Coin Hyena. I feel like having a lot of secrets goes a lot of ways to fix the lack of curve consistency that you have in a Highlander deck because they're all redundant with each other. But I can definitely agree that some of the secrets' effects themselves are incredibly underwhelming in a lot of matchups.
And I think this is just straight up
Double
game.
pump Azarano, extra Star Whip,
Barista,
room for mana spice,
hit
coming right
face,
up.
lock the board. Why? Why now?
Comes a big ass.
It's not the one he wanted.
Our tombs.
Well, not dead.
Yeah, pretty solid outcome, honestly, from the Zul'jin. You go fishing here. Fireball or Pyroblast to end the game.
That's what I was thinking. I want to treat Caligos as a Zephyrus here.
It's not quite as reliable as Zephyrus is, though.
Yeah, but taking 30 here is about impossible.
Okay. Well, there goes that plan. Casie and Hakar, the Soul Flayer, name a more iconic duo, I guess.
Admirable in talking about Mechathune victories. Yeah, there's just... This is a weird series.
It is.
It's just been blowouts.
It has, yeah.
All 3 games. Like,
there really hasn't been a great deal to like break down in terms of huge decision points that have made huge swings because one player's just had the hand quality that the other hasn't. To use Zephyrus here just to find some kind of tempo answer to one of these big minions so he can push face.
I think that's what he's calculating right now.
Yeah.
Like, Big Game Hunter would occupy 7 of the mana. Means you have 2 left, plus a coin.
Yep. You can go for a freeze effect, so you can push everything to face. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, Bloodlust.
Yeah.
That's what he was counting. Wait a minute,
Savage Roar.
Savage
Oh,
Roar?
Savage Roar from here with 3 remaining.
14,
no way.
12? That's 14 plus 12.
Oh!
What?
Oh, Casie! It's 2 off. Yep.
But I never forget. Never
Whoa.
forget.
That was much, much closer than it needed to be coming down to the end, though. Casie on that last turn, where he went for the big Conjurer's calling outs. I'll tell you what it was 2 off, but there's a blood in the deck from the dead Hakar. That's the out, right? And it was an out that Casie didn't need to provide. He had options to do so many more defensive things with the Kartut Defender and so on, instead of being aggressive with the Conjurer's calling.
So did Jarla see there was no blood drawn?
I think he just ran out of time to make the attacks on the rope. I think that's what actually happened in the game state at the end. It was a real blur of action towards the end. So we were counting Bloodlust, we were counting freeze options. Jarla found the way to coin and suggest the Savage Roar to Zephyrus, who was happy to oblige. Important to take Zephyrus down to 3 there as well, because if it comes out of 4, if you have 4 available and it's not lethal to offer Savage Roar, it's much more likely to give you something like Soul of the Forest instead, because Zephyrus, of course, wouldn't know that there's a blood in the deck on top of all of that as well.
That's why the Leroy's in the deck. Zephyrus outs.
Wind Fury, Cold Blood, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, makes sense.
Casey's ready for an interview. Casie, can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Well, congratulations on your win, and thank you for joining us here, because that was a matchup of just blowouts on all accounts that I could think of here. And so I'll pitch you the question I've been pitching everybody else to start off with. The changes from Season 1 to Season 2. What do you like and what do you dislike?
I dislike best of 3. What I like is that...
Well, that wasn't a change.
Let the man speak!
Come on. At the start, I disliked Specialists because last meta game I didn't have a class to play out that I liked, but now I had one, so I disliked... I liked Specialists a little bit more, but from a viewer perspective, I think the change that you have multiple classes is just the difference. Like, it's insane.
So I wanted to ask you, I think first time we got you on for an interview last season, you decided to throw some shots at Pavel. Is there anyone particularly you want to call out this time around to make life interesting?
Bunny Hopper for beating me yesterday in High Rolling.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Elaborate, please. I'm just kidding about that one. Let's talk about your lineup here for a second. You know, your matchups pretty much in both cases were blowout matches. Against Bunny Hopper, just not really much going on. And in this one against Jarla, the players who won just stomped everybody. Talk to me about how you landed on the lineup you did, and were there any decks that you really wanted to play that you just couldn't fit into the lineup?
So in my opinion, there are 4 good decks, and Hunter is not one of them. But so I think Rogue is the unknown treasure right now. I think it's probably the best class because it can beat Warrior. And I think like the technically best classes are Warrior and Mage. And then everyone started playing Priest and like the Highlander Hunter or however you want to call it. And then Rogue beats all of that except Warrior. So I think the best 3 classes to play are like Warrior, Mage, Rogue. And then the 4th class you will never play because it's a lot worse.
Well, it's good to get some insight from you. Before we let you go, just one final question: how tightly clenched were you towards the end there when that Savage Roar came out from the Zephyrus?
I was like, yeah, my hands were not very good, but now I die to Savage Roar. I guess that's my day.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, well, Casie, it's been a pleasure having you join us. Hopefully next week you get some matches where you get to strut your stuff and have some cool things going on. But it's always a pleasure to watch you play, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks. Have a nice day.
Thank you, too. I mean, it wasn't a change. It's been best of 3. I'm just...
So rude. You ask the man a question and then interrupt him.
That's the Casie and I dynamic. We love
okay.
to just really razor each other. We're like well, tap, 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 tap. We get really lawyery when we talk in person, and I find it fantastic that he's just as passionate about semantics that I am.
Yeah, fair enough. Takes a rare breed to be able to match you.
Yeah, like you, for instance. Same passion. Your passion, nonetheless, whether you hate it or love it. It's all passion the same way.